I'd say we can jump in.
Okay. So
Yeah, let's jump in and get started. Since we're recording, we can always email the guests for
awesome.
replay.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Victoria, thank you for joining us. We'll have a few more people joining in as well throughout the session, but want to do this quick Q&A to give you guys a better idea of what the actual 2-day intensive will look like, feel like, what you'll actually get out of that experience, and just, of course, answer some of your questions that you might have. Of course, this information, think about some of the services that you need in this 2-day intensive, but also think about those that are in your circle that this might serve as well as we go through these different slides and what questions they might have if this is something that you want to share this experience with someone else. So this is just quick, brief, update on what to expect throughout that weekend, September 25th. And if you have any questions throughout, definitely let us know, and then we'll have some time at the end as well to cover some of those questions. Rachel, anything else you want to add there?
No, perfect. Let's jump in. I'm excited.
All right. So we'll go over the welcome here. We kind of just did an introduction even before this, the recording part of this, but meeting the hosts, get a little bit more information on who we are and how we can best serve you. The day one strategy, day two, what you will get from operations, a recap of everything that we discussed in case we need to button up some things, and of course, questions. But of course, if you have questions throughout, we can stop and pause there as well. So I'll go to the next slide, but for the meet the host section, you know who I am. I am Nicole Jones. I am the creator of the PM Suite, which is a project management and operations platform, literally helping entrepreneurs launch their projects and actually get to that moment where they need to execute on those goals. Because in some cases, some of the gaps that I've heard or realized with entrepreneurs is they have all these amazing ideas. They have all these product and strategies that they actually want to launch and get out there in front of their audience, but they don't necessarily always have the individual, the framework to actually get them there and that roadmap to actually get them there. So I'm working with that operations piece, making sure you're able to execute, whether it's you are a solopreneur and you're hiring some contractors on board to help you get to that finish line, or you have a team, you're a CEO and you have a team that you need to help need assistance in getting those tasks set up, that delivery, the roadmap, the timelines, the accountability from your team. So I'm helping with a lot of those pieces.
Rachel? Fantastic. Thank you, Nicole. And in perfect form for day one strategy, I am Rachel, and I'm the founder of the Creative Flow Alchemy Academy. And my work here in this cohort, that both Nicole and I have created, but also in all the work that I do, is to make sure that creative millennials and beyond are able to take their ideas, their passions, their natural gifts, and monetize that in a way that is in alignment with your core values. So that is really the work that I do. And the key to that is taking a lot of my project management experience and scaling that into really bite-sized, practical, step-by-step strategy, and getting it ready to hand off to someone who can help you implement that. So I'm going to go straight into what this day one process looks like, and, offer any questions you might have around day one, feel free to pop in and ask, but I'll paint the picture. In our amazing podcast brunch, we talked a lot about those 4 seasons of creative flow. And I know, Victoria, you're live with us. And so I don't remember if you remember what season you were in when you took the quiz, or if you were able to take the quiz. Feel free to chime in and let me know. But based on the information, based on the particular season that you're in, we're going to create a high touch point, like consulting experience in person, where I'm going to assess based on where you are and all of the goals that you have for yourself in the next 12 months. I'm going to explore things that are non-traditional in terms of strategy, focusing in on a wellness, CEO wellness minded view. So it's impossible to have a healthy functioning business without a healthy functioning lifestyle. And so I'm going to make sure that we connect the dots between your life, your goals, your business, and your big vision for impact prior to launching. So that is my goal. So I love that you shared something about getting your business off the ground. You know, that's a perfect place to get clear on strategy before investing in implementation alone. The strategy piece and then handing it off in one session is just kind of like bringing the bread and the butter, if you know what I mean. So I'm excited to walk you through that through something called the strategic flow forecast. And it's going to be something that I typically do in an intensive format, one-on-one with clients. And so you guys are going to be getting the very same experience compacted into one day in a group setting, because we're going to break it up into micro sessions, and you'll walk away with the strategic plan.
So I'll pause there. Any questions?
I did not get to take the quiz, but I don't mind doing it. So
no worries. Don't worry. If you are, you know, whether you do it with us after this session or if you do it prior to the event, you'll have plenty of time to kind of go through that and send that information over in your application, and we'll kind of set you up ahead of time.
Okay. And then as far as the question goes, so just on this event could be for anybody who even just only has an idea for a business. They don't have a clear vision. They just know they want to start one and what they're good at, or at least what they think they're good at. This
yes.
is okay.
I think it's perfect for someone who's at that level, as long as you have experience in, you know, entrepreneurship in some way, shape, or form. Meaning, if you have no idea, no concept, you don't have any like what I would consider test work around, you know, writing out, this is what I think I want to sell, this is what I think my offer is, this is the impact I'd like to leave, this is the kind of money I need to make in order to transition from a full-time career into full-time entrepreneurship. As long as those are questions that you've already been asking yourself, we can definitely take it from there, because the creative flow alchemy process is supposed to essentially break down what your DNA is, that divine natural approach, and apply it to your goals. So even if you're not sure, like, you know, you have a business model ready to walk out, to walk into with us, you'll walk out with definite clarity and hopefully a very clear offer. That would be our intention. And I think the biggest piece is just leaving room, like breath to occur naturally. So while I don't want to say you're going to walk out with a full business plan, you will walk out with a strategic plan that is in alignment with the offer that you came in around with clarity. So I want to manage that expectation, because we got to leave room for God and leave room for grace. And so that means sometimes you may have come in with an idea and walked out with something totally new, and that's okay too.
Thank you.
Of course.
Awesome. Great question. So going to the day 2 experience, I think based on the question that Rachel just answered, that strategy piece is really to help you get out of that fog, if you will, of the, you know, I have this plan, I have this idea, I have this concept that I know that needs execution, but I don't necessarily know how to actually get there, what that roadmap looks like. So, you know, Rachel's doing that in-depth internal work to make sure you're understanding how does this align, not only for your business and your clients, but your core values. Does this make sense for the business that you have set up, and does this match what you deem important for your company? Once you get out of that fog, once you get that clarity and that DNA approach in terms of how you should begin to execute, I'm helping you then deliver on, okay, now that I understand, I have that clarity, I have this sense of calmness and understanding now on what I actually want to deliver within my business to my customers. We're getting to the point where we're actually going to do execution, outlining what does that timeline look like? What are some of those major milestones that you actually want to deliver over the course of the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? What does that look like? What's important to you? What are some areas that you feel like might be somewhat of a gap, some pain points where you know, I know this task needs to get done, but how will that get done? Who do I need to actually hire to help support me in this process? We'll look at just some basic concepts, because I'm not sure what everybody's knowledge is on the operational piece of planning and strategy, but that can be a gap for some people. So we'll cover some groundwork and some foundational knowledge on plans that profit. The plans that profit model just literally outlines what are some basic fundamental information that you need to know for your plan and the execution. What does that look like? How does that feel? And how can I adopt that into my business? What are some of the approaches I need to take? From that, we'll go over, the return on investment. Once we understand some of that foundational knowledge, once we understand what some of those major milestones are, we'll also figure out, okay, how does this then go back to those core values that I mentioned earlier, but also how is this a return on investment to the sales, return on investment to the people that I want to actually sign up to my opt-in page? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What are some measures of success that we want to create over the course of that 3 to 12 month project plan? Solidifying a comprehensive launch strategy and to track the actual progress, which is going to be really critical because when you're in the thick of everything and you're actually in this phase of execution, you can lose sight of, am I actually making progress? Is this actually doing something? Am I actually moving the needle on all this work that I did within 2 days? We'll sit down and talk about how can you track that project over the course of those next few months. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And you might actually be surprised that you might be doing a lot more than you think because you're in the moment. In that moment, you're like, listen, I got 500 tasks open and I can't close one. So this part is going to be really helpful because it helps keep you motivated and continue to the finish line to the launch of your product. And we'll go over a lot more information, implementation plan, meaning, if it makes sense, we'll talk more about that in the session, and the ways to optimize your operations and systems. During the session, I'll cover some of those tools where I'll give you insight on ways you can actually automate, ways you can actually manage some of the project yourself so you can get to that launch date. In ways that'll just make it overall easier for you to manage some of those things we don't necessarily think about, but it's really important to the success of our business and the launch. So that's day 2. It's really kind of, it marries up well for the day 1 strategy work that gets done. And day 2, it's all about how can we make this happen? What are the actionable steps? And then let's see, before I go to the next slide, Victoria, you have any questions on that day 2 approach?
I don't have any questions about the day 2 approach, but it might be on your.
I don't know.
Okay, so I don't have any questions on the day 2 approach, but it might be on your next slide. So after day 2, after we do these 2 days together that are wonderful, what happens?
Great question. I love that. Right. So before we even go into this recap, I imagine that you're asking that question because at the end of 2 amazing days, you're on a high, right? And it's like, so what do I do 3 weeks from now when I hit this wall, or I'm life happens, right? So we built some thought into that to make sure that you have some support post our event. And so, of course, as a recap, just to read through it, this is an all-inclusive 2-day intensive. So you would spend 2 days in person with us. The specific schedule will be determined based on our number of participants and the exact location disclosed in. But, we're going to take care of you so you can come in and focus 100% on being present. You're going to gain those certified practices to adopt in your business, lead with an actual plan of action. You're definitely going to gain that confidence and trust to know that your business will thrive because you're working with 2 people who 100% live, eat, and breathe their businesses. And other people's businesses, right? You'll also receive, we're going to host a success soiree. So just like a celebration for us. And depending on the investment level that you select, we have a post event consulting session that will happen both with myself and Nicole. So you can dive deeper after reflection, which I think is really important for anyone who's coming in through an intensive, that you have the ability to step away, breathe, reflect, and come back and ask for questions from clarity when our endorphins are not super high and our adrenaline is like, woo, you're coming down and you need time to just kind of assess. So we definitely have thought about that and have created that space too. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Because I have been to events, not this, but to events where you get all this information and then you start working on it and you're like, if they would have put a day in between the day, I could have gathered myself. Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to misquote, but I think we've set it up so that you have at least a couple of weeks to breathe. So, because that's important. You need that.
Yep. No, that's important.
What other questions come up for you? I'd love to know, just, when you think about being in this space and coming to our intensive, like what would the feeling be that you would want to have walking away?
More, I guess, security within myself and knowing that I have community. I already know I have community, but I haven't really talked to them about what I'm trying to do. Maybe I've talked to some people, but not in this type of capacity where this is what we're focusing on, helping each other with their businesses, and people I know want to see me get somewhere. So I'm someone who's coming in fairly green. I don't necessarily have a full business plan. I've looked online for a couple. I tried to ask myself the questions I would think that you would need to ask as a true entrepreneur that's not just, selling candy in school. Like, this is my life we're talking about now. So there's a lot more to think about, but I do feel like this event is going to kind of put me on the right path. I'm a person. So like you can find stuff on YouTube and all of that. I want to go where people hey, I want to go where I will see you all again, and it's personable. So I love it.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. She said she wants to go where the real connection resides, basically.
Right?
I feel that. That's where we at. I feel that, Victoria. I agree.
And that's the full intent of this weekend. We've scaled it down to, a certain amount of people because we wanted to keep it curated. We wanted to keep it as intimate as possible and as intentional as possible. So we didn't want it to be this huge conference, although those are great, no knock on huge conferences, but we really wanted this to be super intensive, intentional, and allow people to not only, us sharing and be talking heads, but for you to get some information from even those that are in the room to share and bounce off ideas and build that community, because it is going to be a tight-knit group. So you might realize, hey, we could work together, we can band together in this next journey of the scaling of our business where it makes sense. But to have those one-on-one questions where you don't feel intimidated because it's such a large space and everybody's at different levels of, understanding of as an entrepreneur, but allow you to be in a comfortable space where you can ask real questions from people who actually have done this for too many years. I don't want to put years behind it, but
a long time.
Yes, in a great way and make a great impact. So.
And I'm just really excited at the fact that you have already been in a space with the two of us together. So I'm happy that resonated with you, and that that same energy that we were able to bring into that space is coming with us, but in an even more intimate way where we can really focus in on what you need. And that's what I hope that you will gain most importantly, is know that the focus is for you. We're here to serve you. We're not here to teach our practices. We're here to really dive into what you need and then map it out with you.
Yep. Okay. I don't think there's anything else I want to call out here.
Yeah, I think that's it for this one. Awesome.
Okay. The last slide is if we have any additional questions that come to mind for us about the weekend. I think we've got some good questions throughout.
Yeah, good questions. Victoria, you've already obviously had a chance to visit the page in particular. And I'll stop the recording just because I think.
Well, before you stop it, what
Yeah.
are the dates again? Because, you know, just for recording purposes, so you have the dates. Like, what are the dates again?
Oh, yes. September 25th and 6th, the weekend of the 25th and 6th in Atlanta. Yep. So we need you for 2 days. We need a 2-day commitment. So you can't, you can't break us up from like Friday, Sunday. No, we want you back to back.
Yes, you got to have the full experience, because once you don't want to, lose out on some very vital information from day one.
Yeah.
Or only come into day two having not done the strategy deep dives on day one. So it's going to be really critical that you can commit to both of those days to get the full impact and the actual scalability of your business, which is the whole point
Right.
this weekend. So, no, great question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.